Hello everybody. Today I wanted to take just a few minutes to talk about how to find and test builds in Warzone. Now if you still play Warzone like I do, you know that there are a ton of guns in the game, a multitude of attachments, everything's always being rebalanced. So it's hard to keep up and actually identify what your builds should look like. Now whether you're trying to keep up with the meta or you just want to experiment and have some fun coming up with your own builds, I've got resources for you today that I love to use and I think you'll be able to derive some value from. So I've divided this video into 3 parts. Part 1 goes ahead and looks at some online resources that I think will be very useful for you. Part 2, I'm going to talk about weapon testing to make sure your build's not just good on paper, but also feels good to you personally. And part 3, I've got some great creators for you to follow that I love following, are inspirational to me, and hopefully I can inspire you to have some fun as well. I'm Jack Daddy of Jack Daddy Gaming, and let's get into it. The first online resource I want to talk about is warzone.stats.gg. Now this website organizes all weapons into a tier list based on popularity, determined by pick rate of the player base. This allows you to see what other people are using and what's most popular. Now they do have builds on here, but I take these with a grain of salt because I usually find they're not optimized for my playstyle, and I can usually find better builds in some of the other resources we're going to cover. But this website's a great starting point to get inspired about what guns you might want to try if you're trying to use the most popular, or if you're trying to play off meta, you can see what people aren't using. There's also plenty of guides on here that make this website a super useful resource. The second online resource we're going to cover today is True Game Data. Now this is my personal favorite. This website is amazing. The gunsmith in Call of Duty has come a long way. Now you actually get to see some of the data behind what different attachments do, but it's nothing compared to this site. If you use the Warzone comparison tool on here, you're able to make your own builds and directly compare them. You can see all kinds of details about them. Everything from movement speed in different stances, the time to kill, shot to kill, and you can chart this information against other builds and truly find what build fits your playstyle the best. Can't recommend it enough. They also have a YouTube channel. You should definitely subscribe to it for keeping up with the state of the game, rebalances, all that kind of good stuff. True Game Data is an absolute home run when it comes to resources for determining better builds. Now that we've covered some online resources for getting build inspiration or seeing the data behind some builds, we want to talk about testing it a little bit. You can use the firing range, but there's plenty of information online about how the firing range is actually a bit inaccurate. To get a real idea of how the gun's going to feel, you can go into a multiplayer private match, put some bots in, set their health to 300, which is the equivalent to what player health is in Warzone with full plates, and get a feel for the recoil pattern, how it feels to move with the weapon, and see if you need further adjusting or if this build's perfect for you. Lastly, I wanted to talk about some goated creators that I really enjoy following. First off, JGod. Now JGod goes in depth data mining and doing statistical tests so you don't have to. He always covers patch notes and weapon rebalancing and has a ton of great information so you can stay up to date with your builds. Secondly, we have Z-Laner. Now, this guy's cracked out of his mind at these games. Any FPS really, but especially Call of Duty. Aside from enjoying his content, he's got all his builds on his Discord and a great community to get involved with there as well. And lastly, Stone Mountain 64. Now he's the OG creator for me, the first one I started watching and my inspiration to get started myself. On his website, you'll find builds he uses as well and a bunch of other great resources. Now his YouTube channel is full of great content as well. All 3 of these, as well as True Game Data that I mentioned before, are worth subscribing to. Check them out, you won't be disappointed. If you were able to get value out of this video and you want to support me in my journey, consider liking or subscribing. They're both free and they help out a ton. If you have builds that you've been running, comment them below. If you've got other build resources, comment them below. I'd love to check them out. Otherwise, until next time, I'll see you in the Warzone.